The red sky burned like fire over the war-torn surface of Calyx 7, a planet where humans and the alien species called the Vorin had fought for decades. Smoke and ash curled from ruined cities, and distant explosions made the ground tremble. Captain Elias Kane sat in the cockpit of his sleek human scout ship, the Hawk, scanning the horizon for enemy movements. He had seen death before. He had caused it too. But today, something unusual pulled at his attention. A faint signal buried beneath the chaos. The signal was weak, almost hidden. It blinked in patterns Elias recognized from his survival training. Distress codes. His fingers hovered over the controls as he traced the origin. The coordinates led to a collapsed ruin on the outskirts of the city. A small building, long destroyed in the fighting, had a child trapped inside. Commander Kane, his co-pilot, Lieutenant Rhea Soren, spoke, her voice tense. "That area is swarming with Vorin patrols. You can't just go in there alone." Elias's eyes narrowed. "A child is in danger, Rhea. We leave no one behind. Not even our enemies young." Rhea's eyebrows rose. "You mean?" Elias didn't answer. He already set the Hawk down on the cracked surface. Dust and debris swirled around as he opened the cockpit hatch. The air outside was heavy with smoke, the stench of burning metal and the faint hum of alien energy weapons in the distance. But he didn't hesitate. He moved quickly across the rubble, scanning for traps or patrols. Every instinct told him this was dangerous. Every training drill whispered, "You are alone, do not risk it." But the soft cries coming from beneath the ruin were louder than fear. Finally, he reached the broken building. Twisted metal and shattered walls surrounded a small cavity, where a tiny Vorin child huddled. The child's skin shimmered a pale silver, its large black eyes wide with terror. Its 4 delicate fingers clutched a piece of rubble, trying to protect itself. Elias knelt down. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." His voice was calm but firm. The child's eyes darted around, unsure, trembling. But the tone in Elias's voice carried something alien to the Vorin. Trust. A spark of hope. He carefully lifted the debris and slid his hands under the small, fragile body. The child whimpered but didn't resist. Elias's heart ached. He had seen many casualties in this war. But something about saving a young life, even if it was the enemy's, made his chest tighten with a strange mix of fear and resolve. Behind him, a Vorin patrol appeared, their 4-legged forms moving swiftly over the rubble, weapons raised. The patrol's leader barked in their harsh language, and Elias froze for a split second. One wrong move and he could be surrounded, but hesitation was not an option. He grabbed the child tightly and sprinted toward the Hawk, leaping over broken walls and dodging laser fire. He could hear the patrol chasing him, but he focused on one goal. The child must survive. Rhea opened the ship's rear ramp just in time. "Hurry!" she yelled. Elias dove aboard and Rhea slammed the ramp shut. Behind them, the patrol's shouts echoed in the ruins, frustrated and confused. Elias caught his breath as the Hawk lifted off the ground. The child whimpered softly in his arms. He looked down at the small face, silver and fragile, eyes wide with fear. "You're safe now," he whispered. "I've got you." Rhea glanced at him from the cockpit. "Kane, you know what this means, right? The Vorin will be furious. You just saved the enemy." Elias's jaw tightened. "I saved a life. That's all that matters." He held the child closer. Nothing else matters. The journey to the neutral zone was tense. Elias had to navigate through enemy-controlled skies, avoiding patrol ships and surveillance drones. The child stayed quiet most of the time, clutching his jacket. Occasionally it shivered or flinched at the hum of alien engines, but it did not cry. By the time they reached the neutral zone, the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the barren landscape. The neutral zone was a safe area where neither humans nor Vorin could attack, enforced by a fragile truce. It was the only place Elias could deliver the child without immediate danger. As soon as the Hawk landed, a Vorin scout ship appeared on the horizon. Its sleek silver-blue hull reflected the dying light. Elias tensed. The child stirred in his arms. The Vorin ship landed nearby, and from it emerged a figure unlike any Elias had seen before. Tall, elegant, with pale silver skin like the child, and piercing dark eyes. The woman's expression was anger and fear mixed together. Her voice, though strange in tone, carried authority. What is my child?" she demanded, stepping forward. Elias held the child gently but firmly. "She's safe. I brought her here." The woman froze, her eyes narrowing at Elias. You are human. Yes, Elias said calmly. I am, but I didn't want your child to die. That's all. The Voran woman's gaze softened slightly as she looked at her child in Elias's arms. Relief washed over her features, but it was quickly replaced by suspicion. Why would a human save a Voran? Elias shrugged. Because a child is innocent, and because some things are bigger than war. Some things are bigger than fear. For a long moment, silence hung between them. The wind swept across the neutral zone, carrying dust and the faint smell of burning metal. The child looked up at Elias and blinked, shyly but trusting. The Voran mother's eyes softened a little. I am Commander Lyra, she finally said. Her voice was steady but low, almost cautious. And you have my gratitude. But I do not forgive easily. Elias nodded. I don't expect forgiveness. I only did what was right. Lyra studied him carefully. She had seen many humans in battle, all ruthless and cruel. But this man, he had risked everything for someone she loved more than her own life. She felt something stir inside her. A mixture of respect, curiosity, and unease. Behind them, the neutral zone's command center received word of Elias's actions. Some humans were angry that he had saved an enemy child, calling him reckless. Others quietly admired his bravery. News spread quickly, creating whispers on both sides. Elias had done the unthinkable. He had shown humanity in a war that had forgotten what that meant. Commander Lyra stepped closer. You will not leave until I know the child is safe, she said firmly. No tricks, human. We have seen your kind lie before. I have no tricks, Elias said calmly. She's alive, and that's all that matters. That's all I care about. The child nestled into Elias's arms as if sensing the safety for the first time. Lyra's stern expression softened, but only slightly. She had never seen a human act this way, not in her life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting red and orange streaks across the sky, Elias realized that this moment had changed everything. Saving the child had been simple, yet it would ripple far beyond the neutral zone. Lyra studied him, her dark eyes thoughtful. You may have saved her, she said softly, but saving her may cost you more than you think. Elias met her gaze. If it costs me my life, then so be it. I will not let innocence die. The wind whispered through the ruins. Somewhere far off, a patrol ship patrolled the horizon, unaware that the course of this war had already shifted. Elias did not know it yet. But this single act of courage would draw the Voran mother closer to him than any human could imagine. And for Lyra, this human would become someone she could not easily forget or let go. The child yawned, resting against Elias's chest. It was a small, fragile life in a broken world. Yet in that moment, amidst the ruins and fear, a spark of hope burned bright. Elias glanced at Lyra, standing tall and proud, yet shaken by emotion. The war had made enemies of them all, but for now they shared a single truth. Some lives are worth more than all hatred, all battles, all fear. And Captain Elias Kane had proven it. The city of Arcanus was alive with whispers. In its shining towers and crowded market streets, aliens of all shapes and sizes moved about, some going about their business, others stopping to discuss the strange human who had dared to ignore a royal insult. Ethan Cross had spent the night reviewing reports, double-checking schedules, and preparing for the meetings ahead. To him, the palace whispers were just noise, background static in the busy network of diplomacy. But outside the human embassy, the palace corridors were buzzing. Courtiers and guards alike repeated the tale of the human who had walked away. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Others whispered cautiously about the human's strange confidence. By morning, the story had spread to every corner of the city. The palace gardeners who tended the floating crystal gardens, the merchants in the sprawling bazaars, even the lower-ranking guards, all had heard about Ethan's calm defiance. The story took on different shapes in each telling. Some described him as fearless. Others called him foolish. A few said he must be hiding some dangerous power. Princess Lysera, meanwhile, was in her chambers pacing. She had not slept well. For the first time, a visitor had refused to give her the respect she commanded. She had expected anger, or at least submission, But instead he had walked away with quiet confidence, unshaken by her words or the stare of her advisors. Lysera had always known she was clever. She had grown up surrounded by power, her decisions shaping the lives of countless citizens. She had studied military strategy, diplomacy, and politics, and she rarely met anyone who could match her intellect. Yet this human, he had not bowed, he had not argued, he had not even looked afraid. He had simply ignored her, and that simple act had unsettled her more than any enemy army ever could. Curiosity gnawed at her. By midday, she made a decision. She would observe him more closely. Not openly, not like a princess staring from her balcony, but discreetly, using the eyes of her court. Guards and aides moved throughout the city constantly. A simple word here, a minor instruction there, and she could gather information without revealing her interest. Ethan, on the other hand, remained unaware that he was under observation. He met with other human diplomats in the embassy, discussing trade agreements, cultural protocols, and the subtle intricacies of alien etiquette. Humans had a reputation for adaptability, but even among their own kind, Ethan was considered exceptional. He had learned long ago that patience and observation were more powerful than words or weapons. As the day wore on, he walked through the palace courtyard, watching alien citizens go about their lives. He noticed details others would miss. The way certain guards held their stances, the subtle shifts in the council members' expressions, the quiet tension between different factions of the court. Each observation added to his understanding, giving him an advantage not through aggression but through knowledge. Meanwhile, Lysera's curiosity deepened. Reports reached her of his interactions outside the palace, how he spoke politely but firmly, how he treated everyone, from low-ranking guards to visiting diplomats, with respect. She noticed that humans were not like the alien species she had known. They did not demand respect through fear or manipulation. They earned it quietly, through their actions. By afternoon, she could not resist visiting one of the city's higher observation points. She cloaked herself in a private chamber hidden from view, and watched Ethan as he interacted with various alien officials. He moved with confidence, yet without arrogance. He spoke clearly, listening more than he talked. He corrected mistakes, gently encouraged collaboration, and solved problems with a mix of logic and intuition. Lysera's advisors noticed her absence but dared not question it directly. They knew the princess well enough to understand that curiosity alone could hold her attention for hours. They speculated among themselves. Perhaps she had never met a human before. Perhaps she was intrigued by his composure. Ethan returned to the embassy just as the sun began to set over Arcanus. The sky was a swirl of pink and purple hues, reflecting on the polished crystal towers. He paused for a moment, taking in the view. Humans had always thrived in strange environments, and he felt a quiet pride in his species' ability to adapt. Even on a planet far from Earth, facing a culture entirely alien to their own, humans could find their place. As evening fell, rumors about him reached even higher echelons of the palace. Some council members whispered that the human might be a prodigy, sent to test their politics. Others feared that his calm demeanor hid dangerous skills or knowledge beyond normal human capacity. The debate was fierce, but one thing became clear. Ethan had disrupted the usual order. The aliens were used to their young royal being obeyed, feared, or flattered. Ethan had ignored all three. Lysera, however, was not satisfied with gossip. She needed to understand the human herself. She devised a plan to observe him more directly. The next day, she would disguise herself and visit the city streets among her citizens, blending in to see how he interacted with ordinary aliens. She wanted to see if his calmness and respect were genuine, or if they were simply a mask. The following morning, Lysera stepped into the city disguised in the traditional garb of a common citizen. Her hair shimmered faintly under the disguise, but her violet eyes were hidden behind a simple mask. She moved through the streets quietly, keeping a distance, watching Ethan as he interacted with the city guards and merchants. He approached a market stall where an alien merchant struggled with a malfunctioning transport crate. Others passed by, annoyed at the delay. Ethan knelt down, examining the crate. He spoke calmly to the merchant, suggesting a simple adjustment that would balance the weight properly. The crate was corrected, and the merchant bowed in gratitude. Lysira's curiosity grew. This human did not boast, did not take credit, and yet he commanded respect through his actions alone. She followed him further, noting the way he listened to complaints from citizens, how he mediated disputes without taking sides, and how he quietly reassured frightened children who had been caught in the bustling market chaos. For the first time, Lysira felt a strange combination of admiration and confusion. She had met many aliens in her life, and she knew how power and fear could manipulate behavior. But this human, Ethan, had no need for fear, no need for power. His strength came from a sense of honor and patience that she had never seen before. By mid-afternoon, she found herself almost unconsciously comparing herself to him. She realized she had grown up being obeyed simply because she was a princess. No one had ever ignored her commands before. And yet Ethan's calmness had not only survived her insult, but it had also drawn attention and respect in ways she could not fully understand. Ethan returned to the embassy as the twin moons of Arcanus began to rise. Lysira watched him from a distance, her mind filled with questions. She did not know it yet, but this human had already begun to change her perspective. She had expected a simple display of anger or submission, but instead, she had seen patience, intelligence, and quiet strength, qualities she admired more than she wanted to admit. The next day, Lysira decided to test him further. She sent a minor challenge through the embassy, a small problem in trade negotiations that would normally confuse or frustrate alien diplomats. She wanted to see how Ethan would respond. She did not want to appear obvious, so she framed it as a routine request, hoping to observe his reaction discreetly. Ethan received the message with calm efficiency. He read through the details carefully, noting the inconsistencies and potential pitfalls. Then, without complaint, without argument, he proposed a solution that satisfied both parties, highlighting the strengths of each side. The solution was elegant, simple, and effective. Reports of his success reached Lysira almost immediately. She felt a mix of frustration and intrigue. Here was a human, entirely foreign to her culture, who solved problems not with power or intimidation, but with thought, patience, and clarity. She realized she had underestimated him. As evening fell once again, Lysira returned to her chambers. She could not shake the image of Ethan walking calmly through the market, speaking to citizens with respect, solving problems without conflict, and inspiring trust everywhere he went. She had insulted him once, expecting a reaction. Instead, he had walked away. And now she found herself thinking of him constantly. Ethan, meanwhile, worked late into the night. He reflected on the day's events and the subtle dynamics of alien society. He understood that influence did not come from aggression. It came from consistency, wisdom, and respect. In every encounter, he demonstrated these traits, slowly building trust and admiration. And somewhere not far away, a young princess lay, awake, her mind wrestling with emotions she had never experienced before. Curiosity, admiration, and a reluctant respect for a human who had dared to walk away from her insult, and had somehow changed the way she viewed the world. The seeds of something new had been planted. A quiet tension, a mutual recognition of strength, and the potential for a connection neither of them fully understood yet. Humans, Ethan knew, survived by adapting. And on Arcanus, his patience and calmness were already starting to reshape the perceptions of those who had thought humans were weak. Lysira, unknowingly, was the first to notice.